There's a strange kind of frustration that almost no one talks about. It's not the frustration of failure. It's not chaos. It's not desperation. It's the frustration of doing everything you were supposed to do, and realizing that life still feels smaller than it should. From the outside, your life looks responsible, stable, organized. You wake up, you go to work, you handle your obligations, you move forward. But internally, there's this quiet tension. A feeling that your days are full, but your life isn't expanding. That you're busy, but not building anything that truly belongs to you. And what makes this feeling even harder to deal with is that you don't feel justified in having it. Nothing is technically wrong, which makes you wonder if the problem is you. This video is about why that feeling exists, and why it shows up most strongly in people who did everything right. From a very young age, you're taught a specific equation. Be responsible and life will reward you. Study, behave, follow the rules, make good decisions. And to be fair, this equation works, up to a point. It keeps you safe. It keeps you functional. It keeps you inside the system. But what no one explains is that responsibility and progress are not the same thing. Responsibility is about maintaining. Progress is about expanding. A responsible life is designed to preserve what already exists, to protect stability, to minimize downside. But real progress requires exposure. It requires uncertainty. It requires temporary inefficiency. It requires doing things that don't make sense yet. When you confuse responsibility with progress, you end up maintaining a life that feels busy but static. Your calendar fills up. Your income becomes predictable. Your routine becomes solid. But nothing compounds. You're not building leverage. You're not increasing optionality. You're just getting better at sustaining the same level of life year after year. And because this path is socially approved, you rarely question it. People praise your discipline. They admire your consistency. They call you mature. Meanwhile, a part of you quietly wonders why all this effort isn't translating into a bigger life. That's not laziness. That's awareness trying to break through. No one ever sits you down and says this out loud. But over time, you're trained to associate safety with virtue. The less you deviate, the more approval you receive. The more predictable you are, the more trusted you become. At school, the good student is rewarded for following instructions. At work, the good employee is rewarded for consistency. In life, the good adult is rewarded for stability. And slowly, without any dramatic moment, you learn something dangerous. That taking risks is irresponsible. That uncertainty is a sign of immaturity. That wanting more control over your life is somehow ungrateful. So when opportunities appear that don't come with guarantees, you hesitate. Not because they're bad, but because they don't come with social permission. You ask questions like, is this realistic? What if it doesn't work? What will people think? And those questions sound reasonable. But they all point in the same direction. Back to the familiar. Back to the safe. Back to the life that works, but doesn't grow. Over time, this training becomes internal. No one has to stop you anymore. You stop yourself. And the most frustrating part is that deep down, you know you're capable of more. But capability alone doesn't break conditioning. Here's something that sounds like a compliment, but isn't. You're resilient. You can tolerate stress. You can adapt to situations you don't love. You can keep performing even when you feel disconnected. And that ability has probably helped you a lot in life. It helped you get through school. It helped you build a career. It helped you earn respect. But resilience has a shadow side. When you're good at enduring, you don't get forced to change. People who can't tolerate misalignment break early. They quit. They rebel. They blow things up. You don't. You adjust. You rationalize. You tell yourself this phase will pass. And because you don't collapse, life assumes you're fine. Years can pass like this. Not in pain. Not in crisis. Just slightly disconnected from the life you thought you'd be living by now. Resilience keeps you functional. But it can also keep you stuck in environments that no longer fit who you're becoming. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to imagine another way of living. One of the reasons this situation lasts so long is because it doesn't feel dangerous. There's no emergency, no collapse, no obvious failure. Your bills are paid. Your life is organized. You're functioning. So your mind tells you there's no reason to rush. You convince yourself that feeling stuck is just a phase, that everyone feels this way sometimes, that you should be grateful instead of restless, and gratitude becomes a way to silence discomfort. You compare yourself to people who are struggling and think, I shouldn't complain. I'm doing better than most. But stagnation doesn't announce itself loudly. It shows up quietly through repetition. The same weeks, the same conversations, the same goals recycled year after year. Nothing gets worse, but nothing truly expands either. And because there's no crisis forcing a decision, time keeps moving without friction. Until one day you realize that the problem wasn't that life went wrong. It's that it never really changed. At some point, usually in quiet moments, a different question appears. Not, what if I fail? But, what if nothing changes? You start realizing that stability isn't free. It costs time. It costs energy. It costs the chance to build something that actually belongs to you. You see that staying comfortable means trading growth for predictability. And for the first time, that trade feels expensive. You begin to notice small signs. The lack of excitement about the future. The absence of long-term vision. The feeling that you're maintaining a life instead of creating one. This is not a call to reckless action. It's a call to honesty. Because once you admit that stability has a price, you can no longer pretend that staying is neutral. Staying becomes a choice. And awareness is the first real form of freedom. If this video resonated, it's probably because you didn't hear anything new. You recognized yourself. This channel is not about quitting everything. It's not about rebellion. And it's not about pretending there's an easy way out. It's for people who are capable, responsible, and awake enough to notice when life becomes too small. People who don't want chaos, but also don't want stagnation disguised as comfort. If you've ever felt like you're maintaining a life instead of building one, you're in the right place. Subscribe. Not for motivation, not for hype, but because this channel is about seeing things clearly. And once you see clearly, you can't keep living on autopilot forever.